In a world where cars are getting more and more expensive and more complicated and more electric, Mazda says, well, there needs to be still an affordable hatch, which is unpretentious, not complicated to use, and now gets even more displacement. What about this story here? Let me tell you all about it. I'm Thomas. This is Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with the Mazda 3 here in platinum quartz, so I try to dress accordingly to it once again. A very beautiful, bright color here. Yeah, I really like it. They usually give great color choices indeed. It still has a very modern look here, and this is here an updated version. Not too many changes on the exterior, but more on the interior. And I think a modern look still here for the Mazda 3 hatch. You can see here the daytime running lights, and option it has Matrix LED, also equipped here with this very vehicle. The length is 4 meters 46 or 176 inches. This is here the hatch version, especially popular in Europe. You can also get a longer sedan version. That's also very popular in the US, for example. But the hatch version here is characteristic here with this really large area that makes tiny windows, but made for this special design. Wheels 16 or directly hop to 18-inch wheels. These are also the bigger 18-inch wheels. Also has to do with comfort, of course. You get front-wheel drive, or some rare engine versions also have all-wheel drive. Soon more to that. In the rear we still also have a modern design here with these round tail lamps, and I think it's still okay to go with them. Everyone goes for the light strip, which also looks cool, but I think this is here a timeless design for the rear, definitely. As for the trunk, the hatch has 350 liters. The sedan would be at 450 liters. So the sedan has the longer trunk. This one here a little bit shorter, but you here have the direct access. We'll soon also take the measurements for you. Let me talk about the engine, because this is one of the key facts here of this update, and there it gets actually really interesting. So also turn off the ignition so I can open this one. So far in Europe we had a smaller petrol 2-liter of displacement, and there was only in the US the 2.5-liter naturally aspirated engine, or even with a turbo, different horsepower output. In the North American market you get more horsepower just. But at least now we get in Europe also the 2.5-liter naturally aspirated engine here with 140 horsepower, front-wheel drive. Yeah, as I said, in the US you can get higher horsepower figures, better acceleration figures. Here together with an automatic gearbox, almost 10 seconds in the acceleration. However, it's still better or quicker than the outgoing version here for the European market, because this one here delivers more torque, and also more torque at lower RPM. And then what we also get in Europe is cylinder on demand, and also this mild hybrid system that's also connected here with this very engine. So it's supposed to be very efficient. At the end of the driving review, I'll also give you an outlook of the ideal test consumption you can score if you don't drive too fast. So I think it's a very interesting approach, because in the recent years they have been downsizing, and usually it doesn't make much sense. It's because of these emission laws, but in reality the bigger engines, like with more displacement or something even 6-cylinder, are sometimes even less fuel consuming because you run them at lower RPM. And we have seen these trends like 2-liter of displacement and then 450 horsepower, whatever, and that can't really be good if you tune the engine to that maximum amount. So I think it's actually in this case a good approach. Some things used to be good and they're still good. Some things weren't so good and need to be changed. But here, displacement for combustion engines, I think, is still very important, and that's why I think it's also a very interesting approach that Mazda does that. The other alternative, by the way, for the European market, if you want more power, would be the Skyactiv X. This one has a compressor, so that would be the alternative. And also if you want an all-wheel drive version, that one is also available with the Skyactiv X. Interesting also the turning indicators, which are integrated right here in the front, and they also have this pulsing effect. So yeah, that's something Mazda and also BMW does at this moment. And in the rear, very interesting place to put it. So it looks cool, looks fancy, however also pretty tiny. Transitioning to the interior, first of all with the key fob. Yeah, this is honestly cheap. Nothing special here. Then the door closing sound. Closing sound is actually in the front decent, in the rear it sounds echo-ish. Also here, that's one thing that Toyota and Mazda always has. that the door handles, kind of like when you snatch them, that it sounds like just as if the whole door would be empty. Inside of the doors here already has some kind of structuring, not too soft, but it has a nice structure, softer than here, and also a very plush armrest here for your elbow, so that's actually good. Classic window controls and everything. Here we also have the optional Bose sound system in, and then all hard plastic at the inside of the doors, no covering. It does have an entry sill badge here, Mazda 3, and they have the steering wheel, which always reminds me of past Audi steering wheels because it's slim, it's sporty, it has real buttons at the steering wheel. That's also something I really fancy. And important here, this button to deactivate this speed limit chime when you exceed 1 km/h. Just press it once, then it's gone. So they made a separate button for that. That's cool, actually. And then seats would be available base fabric. There's also a leatherette available. This is here the animal skin. Looks the same as the leatherette, just that this one here is a little bit stiffer from the surface. And of course, it's better to go for the animal-free materials for the animal's sake. Then 1m86 or 6 foot. Did I say 1m86? That's in the passport. 1m89. I'm actually more than 6'2". Still some headroom left. And the seating position itself, ergonomics are actually quite decent. And then here the steering wheel up and down, in and out. So you can also find a good position, and the whole cockpit, the steering wheel and the position and how you feel in the car, it always tells you this is a driver's car. And that's what I love about it. You just sit down and you think, I want to enjoy driving. I mean, it's not an expensive car and it's just a compact hatch here. But still, it gives you directly these emotions that I want to start driving. Now to the cockpit. Here we have a softer touch in the top bar. Then we have this leatherette covering, and it's also really plush underneath. That's cool, with some stitching. And my favorite buttons here, a real climate unit, left and right, easy, intuitive to use, band strength of the fan speed, and also separate buttons here for the steering wheel heating, for the heated seats. Yeah, heated seats are only working when the engine is really running. Obviously, the heated steering wheel is also working just with ignition on. Yeah, that's interesting. Then here the glove box is not really properly dampened, so that's not too good, honestly. Middle console, this is again good. Here they have like a plush bolstering for your knees, right side and left side. That's cool. In the front part there is an inductive charging pad. However, it's not ventilated, so the phones do overheat. Cup holders are really nicely and adaptive. Then you have a classic automatic shifting lever. You can also get it with a manual. The CX-30 recently we drove it manual if you're interested in that. Sport mode is activated here to get some more RPM going directly. And here you control the infotainment system, especially in the main master menu here below with this MMI knob, so to speak. Zoom out to the infotainment system, because they have the philosophy here that everything you do with the master menu is here. And if you're an Apple CarPlay or an Auto, then it's the touchscreen. I mean, it's also quite far away, so using it in this car via touch is not meant to be, and it's not practical because you always have to lean forward then in this case. So it's not the layout to be used for touch, and yeah, you might argue about that. Soft and plush also for your right elbow. That's actually good. And then this one can be slid back and then open, and that can be annoying at times. However, there's a lot of space underneath, so you can put some clutter there, and 2 USB-C chargers then here. Yeah, but always when you have, either you leave it like this, or then you have to put it open again. And while you drive, when you're driving, maybe like passenger wants to access that, and always like this, and then yeah. So I don't think it's the best solution, honestly. But once again, this really cool driving atmosphere here, that's what I like about this vehicle. Just once again tells me, finally drive it. But we're not quite yet, ready with driving, because some more interesting points to cover. Driver POV here, once again with the cool steering wheel. Here the volume control, right side is for the cruise control. And then here the instruments, these are very interesting. So let me show you the difference, because it's a mix of analog and digital. So here, analog is that I have a real arrow on the left side, for example. In the middle part is like a digital arrow, because you can also have it fully digital like this. And when I turn everything off, then you can see the middle part is just a screen, and then we do have the physical arrows right and left. And you also get this head-up display. You can see in Apple CarPlay or in Auto, wired or wireless, here you can scroll through with the middle knob, but here you can also use touch, so that's also possible. Then you can go back to the Mazda menu, and then once again, you only have the control from underneath, but it's kept very basic. It's more meant for the smartphone connection. And then when you press down this whole knob, then you go back to the CarPlay menu again. Rear seats, first of all, inside of the door is also plush on the soft part and structure. That's nice. No inside cover here on the lower part whatsoever, but I think it's still nicely designed here. And we have Isofix at the outside parts each. Here, this clip, however, is removed completely, doesn't fold up or something like that. Then we have the armrest right here. And they also have somewhat adaptive lips. To fold the seats, by the way, you have to press a button in here, but that's a very complicated mechanism. So sometimes it has to be pushed in pretty hard, and you don't really know like from where you shall do that. So not the most practical mechanism there. And I mean, I mentioned a lot of positive things about this vehicle, and you might ask yourself, hey Thomas, where's the catch? Well, the catch is here. So this is here the rear seating, and when you have a tall driver, there's hardly any legroom left. I really pushed the seat in here. I would probably kill the driver from the rear here. So it has no rear leg room at all. I mean, even if you're not that tall, there's hardly anything left. And headroom is also so very cramped space here in the rear. Now you might ask yourself, wait a minute, the sedan is longer. Yeah, but it has the same wheelbase, so it won't give you any big legroom change or something like that. The trunk is smaller difference than with the sedan. So definitely the driver's car, and that also only underpins it, that it's more driver plus maybe kids in the rear. Let's check out the hatch here. The button is underneath here, underneath the logo, and also stays relatively dry there. That's also a good idea. Then the cabin trolley also fits in vertically, and the standard width is about 1 meter or 40 inches. And the standard length here is about 85 centimeters or 33 inches. And now to load things through, first of all, here just quickly underneath, here the Bose subwoofer. And the thing is here, when I load things through and fold the seats here on one side, it only works when I move the front seat in the front with a seat fart, and then I move it back again. That's the way it works, because there's not so much space then in the rear. And then to the seats as we would be driving, this is then here a length of about 1 meters 55. Would be longer like this in the sedan trunk. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge, here in the Mazda 3 update. And when the update is more about the engine update, I think we shall test it on the German Autobahn, shouldn't we? Let's go. Woo, that is just 50 to 80. Actually quite nice. And the thing is, yeah, it's not the best in the acceleration. I mean, the 0 to 100 figure is a little bit less than 10 seconds. So that's really not too good. But this new engine here, it's not the quickest in the lineup. The Skyactiv X will be quicker, and the versions you get in the US and North American market also quicker from this one. But here the 2.5 liter with 140 horsepower is good because you have more torque than the predecessor engine and more torque at lower RPM. That's cool. Let's see how that works. Now from 80 accelerating. Nope, that's 130. And I think it's okay. As I said, there are quicker engines, but the sound is quite nice. It's naturally aspirated. And that means it's maybe not the quickest then overall in figures, but I think the characteristic of the engine, that's what's making it so cool. So you feel that it's very linear. In the sport mode, by the way, RPM is a little bit more pronounced and so on, but usually you don't need that. And the thing that is most fun with this engine is when you're not hammered all the way through, but you are in these slight acceleration moments. And then you look either here at the digital speedometer, or you look at the arrows, the classic arrows in the RPM meter. Or what's also cool, that you can switch to this digital view with the digital arrow in the middle, and you just see the speed being so, moving so linear, and you feel that the throttle and the engine and the driver, everything is so connected, I feel. That's the cool thing about it. We can accelerate even quicker because that's the sign for unlimited Autobahn speed. Let's go. sport mode. And 155. So for most cases that's enough. Yeah. Just to show you like the acceleration performance. But I really feel I'm way happier with this vehicle when I'm slightly on the throttle and then I'm enjoying this linear power output of the naturally aspirated engine. That's pretty cool. As we heading here, or as we're on the motorway with 120 kilometers an hour, so like 70 miles an hour, this is where the wind noise is still okay. It's not the best. It's not the most silent vehicle here in this combat segment, but it's, I would say, on a competitor level, so to speak. The seats here, I told you earlier, are okay, but also like somewhat average, but not in a bad way average. There are better ones, there are worse ones, so they are like average middle, something like that. If you have the fabric surface or the leatherette surface, they would be a little bit softer, then they adapt a little bit more to the body than here the animal skin surface. But we can live with that one here on the motorway as for the comfort, at least. Cool thing is here definitely steering. You have directly a sporty steering feel. It's slim, it actually looks and feels like a so far Audi steering wheel, not the all new Audi steering wheels, they're different. And it's really precise and natural, so you really feel connected once again to the car. Every small command is being transported. I really enjoy that. You feel it's a driver's car, and this is here in the weight below 1.5 tons, and especially as there are more and more electric vehicles on the market, this one feels so light in comparison. You also sit low. We recently tested the CX-30 with the same engine. There, by the way, with the manual, if you also enjoy manual driving there. And this one then again feels so much like a driver's car. The steering is nice, how you handle it, the steering input. Now we're also here on the brakes. Yeah, the brakes, they want to be, this by the way here, the automatic hazard lights control. So Leah is always watching.
Very important.
Leah's always watching out for that, but that was good to test the brakes. Yeah, the brakes, they want to be pushed pretty hard, actually. And here we can also test assistance systems, because now in this traffic...
turning indicator sound is
Yeah,
nice.
turning indicator sound, yeah. Cluck, cluck. It's like a very nice low frequency sound. They also have here active steering assist. So here's the cruise control, adaptive cruise control, and also it's keeping me actively in a lane. I could also deactivate that if I want. The thing is that here on the motorway, when the lines are pretty clear, that is working very well. We had situations earlier, for example, in the construction site, where some of the very elaborate, that's complaining that I'm taking hands off. So earlier in the construction site, where some of the very elaborated assistance systems would be still working, this does not. So if you compare that, for example, to the German competition, in the assistance systems, the Germans are better. This one here I like because it is such a straightforward vehicle. Control the climate unit without looking at it. I can just look ahead on the road and make it warm or colder, no problem at all. Also, I can blindly here activate the steering wheel heating just on one button.
Nice.
Yeah, the shifting lever, a classic shifting lever, although we're in the automatic gearbox thing, real buttons on the steering wheel, it makes driving so relieving, because I don't have to think about where shall I look, where shall I control, what I want to control. Everything is straightforward, and it really relaxes you while driving, because you know at any point this car does what you want, and 100%. There are no moments where you say like, wait a minute, where do I find this and that, and how can I control it? That's not happening with this vehicle, and that's why I love this classic user interface with this vehicle. As I said, on the con side, not the most elaborate assistance systems. In most situations, it does the job. Other con sides, with the 18-inch wheels here, the optional ones, it does have a sportier ride than with the 16-inch wheels, yes, most naturally. However, they are also kind of rough at times, so it also has a suspension which doesn't offer anything adaptive or something like that. There's also no optional suspension available. And so I have to say that when the road is getting bumpy, It's also, come on. Come on. It's not daring to go in there. Probably not expecting me to make way. So I feel that when the road is bumpy, the suspension is also a little bit too rough then. As long as the road is even, it's fine. And also waves are sometimes a little bit wavy then, you know, like this. So it's not a bad suspension, but also not the best suspension. So I feel if there could be upgrades to the vehicles, a little bit better ergonomics for the seats, more suspension comfort, especially if you go for bigger wheels. You can go for smaller wheels if you appreciate more comfort. Upgrade in the assistance systems at some point. That, well, these guys are probably arguing over something. Yeah, I mean, always this road rage, right? Why can't everyone just be relaxed, right? Yeah, and of course, acceleration figure could be quicker. You could go for the Skyactiv X here in Germany. Then again, you have this compressor, and it doesn't feel that natural. In the US market, really envy that. You have more horsepower output for this 2.5 liter engine. But all I have to say, I really enjoy this upgrade of the vehicle. So there was the less displacement naturally aspirated engine before in Europe. Now the 2.5, and I mean, it's just sounding good. 2.5 liter of displacement, 140 horsepower. That's a good relation, and not like these modern relations like, oh, 2 liter 4-cylinder, 400 horsepower. It can't work and can't be sustainable long term, right? Or I don't know, maybe I'm too old school for that, but here, situations like these, you know, your normal mode, you accelerate slightly out, I'm just at 1,500 RPM, and it's just giving me a good feeling. You have like something of this very sonorous and low frequency, just a tiny little bit, not annoying vibration, and it's just giving you this satisfying feeling. There is something about, I mean, I'm totally open to EVs, definitely. I don't see that black and white like some others do. But it's just something about these large displacement engines that's still giving you that satisfactory feeling. I mean, Leah, she even feels that sometimes, for example, also when we drive the 6-cylinder in our Audi or something like that, it's just giving you the good vibes. And even though this one doesn't have the most blasting sound, it's still giving you very good vibes here from this high displacement. And at the same time, it's also good in efficiency. So when you're not driving too quick, like 100, 120 kilometers an hour, then also some lower speeds and mix and so on, we can easily score some 6 liters on 100 kilometers. So that's like 39 mpg US, 47 mpg UK. So the big question was initially, is there any replacement for displacement? No, there's not. Prices start $25,000 in the US, 28,000 euros in Germany, and the test vehicle as it stands here right now with some equipment, 38,000 euros. And considering the new car average price nowadays, this is still somewhat affordable, and you get 2.5 liter of displacement. Hey, and that's definitely something, and it is definitely like an unpretentious driver's car. That's what I really like about this vehicle. So I especially enjoyed the driving experience. Yeah, I mean, it can have more power, like more horsepower, a little bit more, better acceleration figure. That would be maybe cool, especially for the German Autobahn. Still, it was is handling quite well, also at higher speeds. And I really like the classic user interface, which is you sit down and you can use everything directly without learning anything. Yeah, and as I said, I would go for the fabric or the leatherette seats for more comfort and also for more animal-friendly choice if you spec your vehicle. But overall, it's still a competitive vehicle. Yes, it has a more classic approach, more traditional, but in this case, some more classic or traditional approaches are also good. What do you think about that? About the Mazda 3, and we recently did the Mazda CX-30 with similar tech, just in the SUV version.